Hi everyone. I'm going to spend a bit of time today as a follow-up to my previous video to show you how to search for and apply for jobs on LinkedIn. I'm going to specifically focus on some areas of interest on how to use LinkedIn, especially how to search for jobs. And like I mentioned, I will do a brief demo on some of the functionalities of LinkedIn that are inbuilt into the algorithm. So I'll disable my face video for now, um, so that I can keep the focus on the message for today. So what I have just done is I have indicated here on the left of my screen, on the job search tips, and on the tips what I have is points that are self-explanatory, so to speak. The first one is that LinkedIn offers you the possibility to search and filter for jobs. So that is something which is inbuilt into LinkedIn on its own, and you can exploit that. It's a very powerful job search tool. If you have written a very good profile, like we spoke about it last week, see the link to that video below. What you do as well is you obtain recommendations from LinkedIn based on your profile and skill sets. And what LinkedIn does is to use the artificial intelligence or AI powered algorithm to sort out keywords linked to your skills and then push them to you, so that it saves you time. And actually, the other thing is, if you look at my profile, right on the right side of the screen, LinkedIn allows you as well to create a sort of a status, a job search status. You might be employed, and you are not happy with what you are doing, so you're looking. You can actually configure so that LinkedIn is aware of your search status. Are you searching actively, or are you passively searching? Are you available for opportunities immediately, or are you available for opportunities within the coming year or something like that? And this is, what you see here, as I need to go back on that. What you see here showing, show recruiters you are open to job opportunities. You control who sees this, and this you do in your profile, and that enables people who are searching for particular skills to reach out to you because they get returns from their search that is similar or bringing up your name. The third point is when you find jobs on LinkedIn, this point here. The third point is when you find jobs on LinkedIn, it's important to pay attention and see if you have any connections or people that you are connected to on LinkedIn that are working in that particular area or in that company. The benefit of doing that is that you then sort of encounter people who can actually introduce you to the hiring manager, or they can even give you tips on the suitability of that job or not. It so happens that most companies offer very generic job titles on the advertisements market, and that is not necessarily it's not self-explanatory. That means if you are not aware of the nuances of such a job, you might end up applying for something that looks very attractive to you, only to discover that it's either um, a very senior position that requires several years of experience, or it is actually an entry level position, which means you are in the bracket of the so-called overqualified. So when you have people who work in a company and they call them your connections, or people that you are connected to on LinkedIn, it would be an absolute necessity to reach out to them and say, hey, I found this job advertised by your company in this area in finance. It is available in the US or in UK or in Germany or in Africa or in Asia. Might you be able to tell me more about it if you have knowledge? Or if you don't, are you able to advise me whether there is somebody I can speak to in your company? And that way, you get something. You get something about what we call strategic agility. By you're becoming strategic, and so it's called strategic agility. It's always helpful if you can speak to somebody in a company that is hiring to find out if they are aware of that position and what it means versus the skills that you have. What you need to pay attention to is what I have said there. That actually your connections in that company can offer you referrals. So you can ask people to introduce you to the hiring manager. You need to, however, pay attention to several truths. One is, your connections can be as passive as your friends on Facebook. There is no connection at all, except that you have accepted their request to connect with you on LinkedIn. They have no personal connection with you. They do not know you personally. They don't know what you do. They don't know what you are good at, except what you've written on LinkedIn. So don't take anything for granted. When you want to do that, when you want to ask people for referrals, you need to have a self-introduction. Help me if I work for a company like that, the one that I work for, and you found a job that you're interested in. Help me to see you in terms of your qualifications. What is it that you would bring to this company, to that role? It's not about this company, it's that role for which the job is being hired. What is it that you would bring to that role that makes you qualified or suitable for that job? So that when I speak to somebody who is hiring for that role, I'm able to say, John, who is a financial controller with the World Bank, is applying to change his roles. He wants to get out of the World Bank, for example, and is looking for a position in our company, and he has seen your advertisement for a financial officer or chief financial officer, a CFO, in this company. John brings 10 years of high level financial management, working in the blah, 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 blah. Help me as a person working in that company to get a snippet, if you like, a very condensed profile of yourself. And I will show you how you can do that without, breaking a sweat. So you need to really introduce yourself. I get people who use a very lazy thing on LinkedIn that if you look for a job and then LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to request a referral. And then when you request a referral, some people actually just click and send. And then what I get is, hi, John, or hi, Serone. I saw this position being advertised in your company and I would like you to introduce me to the hiring manager. One, I don't know the hiring manager. Two, I have never seen the job because it's obviously not necessarily in my area. And the third, I don't even know you. I don't know what you would bring to that job. And when we hire people, we are not doing favors. We hire people for skills. We hire people for the value they can bring to the company, because businesses are not charitable organizations. So you have to help the person who is going to speak on your behalf by painting a very robust picture about yourself in terms of your skills, what you would bring to that job vis-a-vis the requirements of the job. And that is your assignment. It's not my assignment as a person in that company. It is you to be able to create a very good picture of this is what the position is asking for, and this is what I would bring to that role. Therefore, I would ask you to speak to the hiring manager on my behalf. The third point, or the fourth point actually, is about a CV. You need to write a CV. And there is no excuse, guys, and there are so many tools you can use today to write a CV, but there is never going to be anything that can replace a CV. You have to appreciate the fact that when people don't know you, you have to introduce yourself. The best way to introduce yourself is to use a CV. You can use a very sketchy CV, you can use a very comprehensive CV. Whatever you want to do, you have to provide a CV anyhow, so that people know what it is that you bring on the table. And it's not just about your strengths, it's also about the opportunities for you to grow, because companies don't look for very perfect people. We look for aptitude, yes, which is the abilities you bring. And then on the other side, we also look for attitude. If you don't know something, is there the possibility that you are actually agile enough to learn on the fly? It's something called learning on the fly. That means you're dropped from being a graduate or master of science in food science and technology at the university to being a manager of R&D section, or doing a product development. That means the ability for you to translate the university theory and laboratory research that you did to something that is going beyond the desktop, that is going to the pilot plant, that is going to deployment on the factories. And that means, how able are you to learn the intricate differences between your theory at university and the practice on the industrial floor? You really need to describe yourself not only in terms of the strengths, but don't be afraid to say what it is that you would learn. And a lot of people, I tell them, don't be afraid to say you've never worked in a company, so you don't know anything about company culture. That's okay. It's not a crime. And people learn. I mean, I left university at the age of 45. I went straight into senior management level at industry, where I was being benchmarked against people that have worked in that area at the same level for 10, 15 years in industry. That means in terms of street wisdom and knowledge on how companies operate, they were eons away, ahead of me. But then the question is, how can you be agile enough? How can you be adaptive and learn from the best in order to catch up with them and even better them? That is what companies look for. Companies don't hire you just because of your grades. Thank you very much. We also hire you on the basis of your ability to unlearn some things, and most importantly, to learn some things. So let's just a comment on the on CV and cover letter. And what I have done is I found a very good resource. It's called Europas. I'm going to show you a demo in a short while, and I will also add the link below this video so that you can click and get there to create your own CV online. You can generate it using Europas. It's one of many CV creating tools that are available. The beautiful thing is actually it can import data from your LinkedIn profile into the fields that are available on the Europass template, and that allows you to sort of pre-fill that template with the content. What is important is, once you create your CV, never submit your CV in an editable format. Never ever submit your CV in an editable format. You need to convert your CV to either a write protected MS Word version, or at best do a PDF version of your CV. Never submit editable documents. It doesn't matter whether it's your grades, whether it is your cover letter, whether it's your motivation letter, whether it's your CV. Never submit something that somebody else can edit, because you never know what people can do with that. The other thing about CVs is there is nothing called one fits all. You cannot write one CV and submit for every job. And the reason why you can't do that is because, I mean, take a generic example like food science. And excuse me if I speak about food science because obviously I come from that background. So if you are applying for jobs in food science, you can go from applying for jobs in, let's say, marmalade processing to margarine production, right? So I take those extremes. The fundamentals of food processing will be the same. You process food for variety, you take care of things like flavor, you take care of things like taste, you ensure that the food is microbiologically safe, that it is not chemically risky. You package that food in a way that is attractive and it is meeting the regulatory space of a particular market that requires declaration of contents. You have to declare everything. When you write a CV for marmalade production, it will not be the same as when you write a CV for a cheese producing a product developer's role. So you need to write a CV for every job. That is absolutely important because for one job where you're applying to be a manager in a food processing company, you want to show your strengths as a leader and a manager. In another where you are doing an application for product development, you do want to show or highlight your skills for product development or creativity. And I mean, I've had all those examples. I went to the US about 3 or so years ago, and I attended the IFT, International Food Technology, in Rhode Island, somewhere to the east. And right there, I met a very brilliant Italian girl. She was presenting in the students' competition, and I said, "Hey, I work for Mars. We are interested in talents like yourself, and I would like to ask you to apply." And even though we didn't have a role at that time for somebody like her, she eventually, having won the student competition at the IFT, she ended up working for Mars. Such a person went straight to product development because that's where her strength was. She was able to create and make something that looked like Nutella. And so that talent fits into product development. She wouldn't fit into, let's say, management or team leadership because that's not her strength. So when you write a CV, you need to be able to identify what is it that the job is asking for, and then write a CV specifically to answer the questions that the CV is or that the job advertisement is looking for. On the cultural differences, this is something that is sometimes a very discouraging. So when I read a lot of CVs from people who write and send them to me from Kenya, and a typical Kenyan will write, everything about the CV will include date of birth, gender, religion, marital status, all those. These are very superfluous pieces of information. They are not necessary. They shouldn't be on a CV that you are applying, for example, to a European employer, because they are not interested in your religious inclinations. They may actually work against you. So try to understand the cultural differences in CV writing. And the cultural differences is not only about the content, it's also about the structure. I remember when I wanted to change from university and apply for jobs in industry. And I used to start all my application letters with, I am a 40-year-old Kenyan male, holder of a postgraduate or a postdoc in food bioprocess engineering, etc., etc. And that's not how a German would write or expect to see an application letter. The fact that you are writing, I'm a 40-year-old, perhaps that even stops them from doing anything. They just pack your letter straight off. Because of cultural differences, you don't need to declare your age. For them, it is about, I have read your job advertisement, having been attracted to the requirements and aware of my qualifications. So you are linking straight into What is it the job is asking for? What are your qualifications? How do you match or fit into that? Whereas a typical Kenyan letter would start with, I am a 14-year-old, I am a 20-year-old, I am a 50-year-old, I am a 35-year-old married female with 3 children. Nobody is interested in that information. So be careful about the content of the CV. There are things you shouldn't include in a CV. Be conscious about the cultural differences in a CV. There is a structure that people would like to see. Some people like what they call the tabular format. Others like a narrative format. So an American will definitely usually like a narrative format of a CV. So verbose, so lots of sentences and very, very colorful CV. A German wants a minimalist sort of a CV in that sense. So try and understand the cultural differences between the hiring company and your own culture. And actually, the easiest way to deal with all those nuances. Some of the cultural differences also include whether you should or shouldn't have a photo. Some CVs. Some people prefer to have a photo on a CV. Others do not want to have a photo on a CV. And a photo can destroy or make you, because some people expect to see something on your photo. They expect to see a warm personality. Remember what I said yesterday or in the previous video on your photo update on LinkedIn. And look at mine, for example. This kind of a photo that brings in the warmth. You are able to connect with the other person. And you show, don't smile stupidly. You show the completeness of you. Don't be too serious. Don't look like you are angry. You connect with the other person and disarm them. Yeah, you make them feel connected to you in that sense. So it's important that you understand some CVs require a photo, others don't. And just a footnote. Although I say you shouldn't include religion and marital status in a CV, the truth is, depending on the job, and this is why I said you need to write a CV for every job. If you are writing a CV, for example, to be a caretaker of a children's home, it might help for you to say something about your marital status and the fact that you have children, because that tells people, you bring in a certain attribute of parenting, which is important for that job. But if you are applying for a science job, we are not hiring people because of their parenting skills. We are hiring them because of their scientific skills. So beware of those. It's not something that I want to be misquoted and said, Serone told us not to include certain things. If you are applying for a job to work in a party secretariat, for example, if you are applying for, I don't know, the Green Party, if you want to join them and work at their secretariat, for example, as the secretary for media affairs, you obviously need to highlight the fact that you've been a member of an equivalent party in your country and you've been involved in environmental conservation, that you share ideological similarities with those. If you are applying for a job with the Catholic Relief Organization, that you want to work in an NGO that is dealing with the Catholic Church or Evangelical Church or the Seventh-day Adventist Relief Organization, you may want to highlight your religious affiliation, because that is definitely something that adds advantage to your application. The one thing that I wanted to pronounce very prominently and publish here is to be aware of the fact that many companies actually use these days they use computers to scan your application, because human resource departments are very narrow in terms of or very limited in terms of personnel. They can't handle everything, so people are automating everything now. So when you apply, they tend to scan the documents through computers that extract specific keywords, and that helps them in filtering the hundreds of thousands of applications to highlight the 10 or so that I invited to, let's say, the first interview, so that when you write your CV or you write your application letter, you need to have specific words that are asked for in the job application, because that helps you to get the hits. I will leave that part for now, and just do the demo that I wanted to do on the and then we will come back to the notes. So what I will do is first demonstrate how you can activate your status. So if you go to if you want to tell people that you are open, you can go to you can go to your profile, right? If you went to your profile on LinkedIn, you will see, just by clicking on your profile, right? If I went back and then I click on my picture and then view profile, if you go there, you will see get started. And if you click on that, it gives you the opportunity to highlight here your openness for a position, and you can actually select. So what are the job titles I'm looking for today? Let's say I'm looking for something like vice president. Okay, let's see, vice president of R&D, vice president of research, vice president of, okay, I say vice president of development. Or I'm looking for director. I'm looking for jobs on director of technical director, for example. And I could specify the location. I could say I'm looking for anywhere, Germany, for example, that's where I work. I could say I'm looking for European Economic Area. Say I'm looking for EMEA, as Europe, Middle East, Africa. And it depends on what you are looking for. You can also here specify and say, you know what, I have a full-time job, but I'm looking for something that is part-time. Or for, obviously when you want a job as a vice president, it's no longer about internships. It's about something that is, much senior than that. So we are talking about 10, 15 years plus of experience. So I'm looking for full-time a job opportunity. So only recruiters will be able to see that. I could add to my profile. And then here it will say what it is. Do I want to get daily emails and in-app notifications? If I want, yes, I can say yes. If I don't, I just keep it like that and I say done. Now, I have indicated here that I am open to opportunities, and those opportunities are the ones that I highlighted here. So people who will be searching on the internet for somebody who has protein innovation, enzymology, or some of the skills that are listed under my skill sets here below. For example, when they search for people that have skills in protein chemistry, I think I have quite a number of skills of protein chemistry, research, mass spectrometry, ELISA, food science, protein purification, biotechnology, molecular biology, data analysis, biochemistry, high performance liquid chromatography. If headhunters are searching for people with those kind of skills, they will find my profile as one of the highlighted profiles. So that is on how you can activate the status, so that LinkedIn will be able to push for you either open positions, or that your name appears on the search when recruiters are looking for people. The other thing which I mentioned was you can look for a job, and I'll just use an example. So if you do search, and then you can do food science, and then you could do under jobs, just filter it by jobs, and then I could do the same. I could say, what is the experience level that I'm looking for? I'm looking for director, mid, senior, or executive, right? So something like that, and then I say filter. So that gives me manager new production. It's whatever, it's EMEA. I can also specify instead of EMEA, I can say I want Germany, worldwide, or anything like that. Research and development lead, R&D, technology manager, R&D regional manager, customer innovations manager, plant-based foods, etc., 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 etc. If I am interested in one of them, if I see one of them and I think, wow, this looks like a fantastic piece of offer, so I'm going to do I'm going to do a search for more information. What it does here is under the descriptions, and I forget about it. It's written in Dutch, so definitely I'm not interested in reading all that. What I could do actually here is you can check on how do you match. So if I click on that, see more details. It is in LinkedIn is able to use my skills, and remember that is what is already updated there for me. It's going to use my skills, and then it's going to match the available skills that I have with the preferred skills that the job is looking for. And in this case, it is telling me I have 5 out of 10 skills, for example. Of course, I haven't included things like project coordination on my profile, which is obviously what I do. Excuse me. I do innovation development. It's a lot of what I do these days. So it's not on my profile as part of the skills I have. So if I added innovation development and project coordination, I would have 7 out of 10 preferred skills. And this is one quick way for you to see, do I measure up for this job or not? So that is one. The second thing, and you can update your profile. If I click on update and then I want to update, I could go down and edit my profile, for example, to add those skills that are not currently included in that. I don't want to do it now. If I click on the plus sign at the top right, it will pause this video, and that's not what I want to do. So I'm not looking for that job. If I wanted, that's what I would do. The other thing which you would actually see is it tells you here under research. So focusing on this area of research and development, it says be among the first 25 applicants. That tells you something. This job has had already a number of applicants. They are not yet 25, but there are people who have already applied. So do I want to apply for a job where we are already 25 people? Maybe. I don't know. It depends. If I look at Bierstoff, so the guys who make Nivea, it says here, for example, that I have, how do I measure up there? So let me see. I have connections there. I have people who work there, and you can see I have 2 connections. I have Katarina Sadowska and Mareile Leuden. Mareile Leuden. She was an intern here with us at Mars. Fantastic, congratulations. So she's got a job there. So I have 2 people already that I know there, and I can ask them to introduce me, which is really very good. The other thing which I think I need to mention here is that when you look at this job, it shows me how many connections I have. It shows me where it is, of course, in the company, and I know Bierstoff. They are the guys who make Nivea and the the lip balm stuff. The other thing which is very good about it is if I clicked apply, which and I'm really sorry because I'm going to have to skip that, so that it should usually be able to submit my profile straight to the recruiting person so that they can view. It sort of says this person is interested. I don't know what is going on the other side, but it sends a message that somebody is interested in this job and they are invited to view my profile, which is actually very good. Some jobs, like the one I have seen below that I wanted to highlight, this one here, Operations Performance Manager, all gender. If I click on that, it gives you something called Easy Apply. Easy Apply is a very good functionality from LinkedIn. If you click on it, you don't need to fill in on anything. You can just click on it, and it will take you straight it will just share your profile directly, even without you submitting, which is something I do not want to let that happen. So if I do that, and then I say I don't want to apply, discard, it will show me somewhere at the bottom that my profile has been shared. This one didn't share, but sometimes it does share the profile with the person who is hiring. I didn't want that to happen because I'm not interested in that job. Okay. The other thing that you could do then here is you can actually create, you see at the bottom here, you can get job alerts by if you highlight that, you turn it on or you can switch it off. That means every time LinkedIn receives a post of a job with food science in EMEA, you get notifications that says this job is available because it is satisfying your let's say your search criteria. So that is on jobs seeking, and you can filter, you can improve it, etc., etc. Yeah. So search for jobs, you can filter them and reduce the amount of feed that you get. The other thing which I had promised to do is how to create a CV. So I'm going to share this link below. What you need to do is two things. One here, and I will go back to the left so that I show you what I want to highlight, which is on my sort of guide that I had written on the PowerPoint slide. It's frozen. But what I wanted to do here is to show you that you can actually you can actually do, so you fill in your information. It's a very nice way to write a CV because it just gives you all the fields that you can fill in, right? And then once you fill in all this information, you save. And I could do an example. I don't want to do it now because otherwise it will show all my private contact details that I don't want to publish here on this video. The other thing which happens there is as you progress, I don't want to import a CV. As you progress, you have the ability here, which is what I mentioned. You have the ability here to choose the type of application. So if you choose the type of application and you actually, if you click it, if I do click on the type of application, I don't want to do that. Just give me a moment, I refresh it. I do not want to have an importation. Okay, I have to restart this CV thing, and I will do curriculum vitae so that it's fresh. Let me see whether that behaves. Yeah, okay, now I can click. So if you pre-fill your information here, and you know, I could do that, for example, and say if I say save, I just have to fool it, like that. So you see, it already pre-filled my information, and then under the type of application, if I click that, it gives me several options. You select from a list the type of application. This is where, for example, if you want to ask somebody in a company to introduce you to their company, you could go for the last option here, which is the personal statement. And that is very important if you are introducing yourself, because then that allows you to have, and I show you an example. If I do that, you see what it does here. It pre-fills for you a graduate with strong communication and organizational skills gained in nursing, now seeking to move into HR as a trainee manager. Those are the sort of pre-filled text. You need to write your own content, and there is nothing harmful. You can say a graduate of food science from Egerton University or University of Massachusetts or Stanford University or whatever it is, with as a student or a graduate of Master of Science in Food Science and Technology, with extensive research in protein chemistry or marmalade process or something like that, looking for an opportunity in product development in the human food chain, or something like that. Just make sure you use your own words, because that helps the other person to know who you are. And that is important for personal statement. If you say, no, I'm looking for application for studies, right? That means you're looking to apply for, let's say, an MSc or a PhD in informatics, right? In informatics. So that means you already specify you're going to apply for a PhD in informatics, let's say, and Internet of Things, IoT. So if you seek to apply for informatics or a PhD in information technology or Internet of Things, write it there. If you want to write for a Master of Science in Agriculture Economics, write it there, because this helps you in creating a tailor-made CV for that particular thing that you are interested in. If you are applying for a position or a preferred job, just go ahead and do that. And what is the description of that preferred job, right? So 3D animator, abrasive absorbent, I don't know if there is anything on food. Let me see if there is anything on food. There is nothing on food. There is actually. Pet food and food manager. So if you are applying for a preferred job in pet and pet food shop manager, for example, you pre-fill, and that helps you to sort of tailor your CV in that direction. So this is one other functionality that is really important with Europas. It makes your life very easy. You don't need to create a CV from scratch. You can create one like that. If I say save, it saves it for me. So what are my work experience? You can just go ahead and do that. Personal skills, go ahead and do that. Mother tongue, if I say mother tongue and then I select from the list, of course I will not find my Nandi in here. Probably Kalenjin, nothing. So I will force it. I'll just write Nandi. I don't care. You can write yours. And there you are. Foreign languages, I am proficient in several. So I write Mandarin, Chinese, Mandarin, and then self-assessment if I want to assess myself. So basic user, am I advanced? Usually, so these notations here, A, B, A is like basic. If you are very basic, that's A. So usually I advise people who are very proficient, like in Kenya, we teach people in English at the university and in primary school, you are at the level of either C1 or C2. Yeah. In Chinese, I am not at the level of C2, I am at the level of B2. For example, and then reading, I am at the level of B2 as well. That's usually enough. And then speaking, I would be at the level of C1. Usually you speak better than you write, and you speak better than you read, and then there's always that difference between what you speak and what you write. So I could say I'm C1. Writing, I'm so lala in Chinese in writing because of the character. So I just leave it like that and I say save. And you see, it generates for you as a kind of a rating of your language skills, which is understood out here. And I could say the other language that I want to add there is German. So German, No, it's not Swiss German, it's German, and my understanding of German is at C1 level. I'm proficient enough reading. I could read it. I am reading at C2. So, guys, if you don't say you read as proficiently as possible, some of this will trigger a requirement that you actually need to do you need to do some language some language courses. Writing, I could be at the level of B2. I'm not as proficient in writing as in spoken, because writing will usually go into the it will go into the proficiency of language and fluency, use of grammar and stuff like this, which you don't have the opportunity to correct. I just leave the rest. We can always edit and improve. So if I do that, what I have now is I have two languages: German, Chinese. My mother language is Nandi. You could actually have, in the case of Kenyans, you could have mother language as Swahili as well. You could go back there and say you want to add and edit. I don't know. It depends on you. I'm not going to impose any preference of my own. So fill in all these others: communication skills. How good are you on communication skills? Just go in there and fill in stuff. So good communication skills gained through my experience as sales manager. How did you develop your communication skills? You could have developed it as a leader of a students union. You could have developed it as a salesperson in a company. You could have done it as a volunteer. You need to specify how you developed your communication skills and how you developed your interpersonal skills. And if you've had student experience abroad, for example, you need to also specify that, because that's something that you get an advantage. And then once you have done that, you can go to preview. And this is how it looks like when you do a preview. It will download it, or it can open it for you. And that's how mine looks like. Remember, you need to go back and download and then delete the and you see here it saves as a PDF, which is something that I didn't want. So it's just a preview for me, but you need to edit. So save it, for example, as a Word document, and then double click the header and remove the logo on the top right there, so that you do not have let's say the Europas logo. Usually if you select a photo, it will be put on the top right. I didn't select in my case, but then that's okay. So then you generate a very clean CV, which carries all the information that you require in that case. So again, remember, and you can always add, you can add a photo. Let me see where it was. If you scroll up to some point, I think there is actually a place that you can add a photo of yourself. I don't see in this one, but it is possible to add a photo. You can, instead of preview, you can actually save. And then if you save it, you can save it as an MS Word. You can save it as a curriculum vitae. And there is always a convention, and this is probably something I need to mention here. When you save a document, click save on my device. I save it as curriculum vitae, and then I need to, okay, I needed to highlight something here on save. Okay, it doesn't behave very well, but I can always recover it. So if you say select to my that and save as a curriculum vitae, and then you can browse. So where do you want to save it? And I want to save it under files, for example. I could save it here, but I do not want to save it, so I'll just leave it like that. You can save it on You can save it in cloud, or you can save it locally to your desktop. So that's with the CV. I will put the link below this video. Create your own CV, and you can always keep it online. You can go back and edit a CV. There will be several things that you need to ask me about how to write a CV. Feel free to let me know, and I can come back to that. So let's wrap it up, guys. Search in LinkedIn, and you can filter. You can also edit your job seeking status. Like I said, create a CV, and this is for application, and it's also for introduction. So you need a CV to introduce yourself to people if you're asking them to help you lobby within companies. Don't take anything for granted. You need to really paint a picture about your abilities, let people know what it is you bring to a company. And just remember, most of the job applications will always have a team manager that is hiring. So human resource department doesn't hire people, they only facilitate the hiring. Most hiring is done by the hiring manager. And if the name of the hiring manager is not provided, then you could use your connections in on LinkedIn to ask them for who the hiring manager is, and then reach out to that hiring manager. Remember the keyword that I used. If you reach out to people, ask them about information so that you're prepared before you submit your application. That is something called strategic agility. And that, to me, increases your chances of being hired. So thank you very much for joining me for the last 52 minutes. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below, and I will get back to you as much as I can. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to apply for scholarships, especially on the DAAD that are offered by the German Scholarship Council. Thank you very much, everybody, and see you next time.